What a dark night. Yeah, it's very quiet. Good evening. Welcome. Sit down. Join me. So, I'm just enjoying this Christmas tea and relaxing. Yeah. Okay. So, I bet you're wondering what kind of weird candy we're sampling in today's episode. Now you see, I still have some naughty Santa candy and some naughty chocolate Santas, but I'm getting a bit sick of all the candy, to be honest, so I'm gonna give it a rest and just go for this tangerine. It's clementine. No, it's tangerine. I told you it's clementine. Anyway, I'm gonna eat this. Oh. Yeah. Okay. And I bet you're also wondering, KH, are we doing yet another Spawn comic book review? No. Hey. I have my Batman Christmas sweater on. So I thought we could do a Batman comic book today. Yeah. It's about time to do something else. Yes it is. So, in today's episode of the Shakakapow Christmas, we are gonna take a look at Batman Spawn. Yeah, you didn't really think we were not, did you really think we were gonna do something else but Spawn? Well, it is a little bit different. It's Batman. Okay, so this is Batman Spawn, the classic collection. It's in hardcover. This came out recently, and it's interesting that this came out right now because we have two stories in this. The two old Batman and Spawn team up comic books. And they're doing a third one right now. I think that started in December. So it was nice to get this collection here. And before we continue to talk about this, I'm gonna take you back to the past. Okay. So you see, here in Norway, we didn't get Spawn until 1996, so we were a couple of years behind. And then in the early 2000s, it was not that unusual that you had these mashups between different comic book characters. So we had, for example, this magazine called Gigant, which is giant, I guess. And here we had Gigant 2001. We have Deathblow and Wolverine. Deathblow is from the Wildstorm universe, and Wolverine is from the Marvel universe. And this was like a half and half. So we had also Superman and Gen 13. Yeah, we had a couple of other Gigant magazines. We had Superman and Aliens, and this is probably one of my favorite Superman stories. Might talk about this one in a different episode. And then we had this one. So this is Spider-Man and Backlash, but this isn't just any Spider-Man. This isn't Peter Parker. This is Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider as Spider-Man. But we're going to talk about this one. Okay, so this came out in 2000, and back then I was reading Spawn, and there was this issue in Spawn where they refer to something that happened before, where something happens to Al Simmons' face, and it's like referred to blah blah blah, read Spawn, blah, Batman, something. So okay, and then when this came out, I was like, yeah, so I'm finally gonna find out what happened to Spawn's face. But I didn't, because this was just one of the two Spawn and Batman comic books. So we never got the second one. And I didn't get to find out what happened to Al Simmons' face until I read this story now, 20 years later. Okay, so here we are. So there are two stories here, and the first one, I believe, was published under DC, and I think the second one is published by Image. The first one has that very classical Batman feel to it, like a Batman story, and the second one feels more of like a Spawn story. So let's go through the usual stuff. The first comic book, like the Batman Spawn, it was called War Devil, yeah. So this is War Devil Batman Spawn. It's a Batman story where Spawn shows up in Gotham City. Now this had 3 writers. We have Doug Monk, Chuck Dixon. Yeah, you guys, if you followed the channel, you know that I'm a huge Chuck Dixon fan. I love the G.I. Joe and Punisher stuff he did. And we also have Alan Grant, so we have a lot of heavy hitters here. And the illustrations are by Klaus Jansson. Also the colors are by Klaus Jansson and Jansen and Steve Buccellato. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Okay, so I remember when I read this back then, I was a bit let down and disappointed by the illustrations, because it wasn't the same style. It wasn't Todd McFarlane's illustrations, and I mean, I had gotten very used to that, and I was young, so now when I read this again, I have read a lot more since then, and I'm a huge fan of the Daredevil Klaus Janson stuff that he did with Frank Miller. So I love this style. It's very 90s, and I love the colors. I'll show it to you. Like, the coloring is really cool. As I said, it's very different from Todd McFarlane's style, but it's refreshing and nice to see it, like to see Spawn drawn by someone else. And here we have like Spawn coming to Gotham City, and there's this supernatural there's this guy doing bad stuff and resurrecting an army of the dead, and they have to team up to stop this guy. Not going to say much more. It's a nice little story. And then we have the second story, Spawn Batman. It says here, Spawn Batman is a companion piece to DC Comics' The Dark Knight Returns. But I never had any, I didn't get the feeling that this was related to The Dark Knight Returns at all. Anyway, the illustrations here, I love them. It's that very, very stylized and very typical Todd McFarlane. And the story is by Frank Miller. And out of the two, I would say the first story is better, but the second one is like a guilty pleasure. It's basically just Spawn and Batman beating the living crap out of each other. So, I mean, there's this terrorist organization, and they have to cooperate to stop these bad guys, and they don't get along, and this is a very bitter and angry Batman in true Frank Miller style. So here you have some more cool illustrations, and I have to show you when these guys fight. It's awesome. So yeah, there's this long fight where they just keep pummeling each other. And look at this. Wow. Very nice. Yeah. It's a bit cheesy, but it's a very fun story. I'm not going to say more. You finally get to find out what happens to Al Simmons' face. Okay. So you can probably find this in your local comic book shop. And yeah. Once the third one is out, I'm definitely going to check that out too. There's not much more to say about this one. Batman Spawn. Go check it out. Okay. So, that's it. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and stay tuned for more Christmas videos here on the channel. Do like and subscribe. It really helps. And we're gonna have a fight to the death.
Where are they?
What the hell are you talking about, dude?
Where's Harvey?
Shut up, fool! Yeah, okay, I can do this later. Take care, guys, and see you in the next episode.